Hi, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Money TV. I am your host, Donald Baillargeon. So glad you could take the time to be with us. Money TV being the program all about money and what makes it happen. Well, it's been a couple of months since the fiscal cliff crisis and a couple of weeks since the sequester brouhaha. And now we're hearing the news about all the cuts being made across the United States as a result of that $85 billion cut from the federal budget of more than $4 trillion. Now, keep this in mind. In 2012, the U.S. Treasury collected more money in taxes than at any time in our nation's history, and yet we're still running a deficit of more than $1 trillion. And yet there are people in Washington who insist there's no spending problem. Our border security is facing cuts, but buddy Joe Biden goes to France and the bill's $1 million for one night. But there are people in Washington who insist there's no spending problem. The White House has shut down the White House tours because they say there's no money, yet the same week they approved a $250 million loan, whatever you want to call it, being sent to Egypt. And there are people in Washington who insist we have no spending problem. The annual White House Easter egg hunt got the axe, and there's a real budget breaker. We don't have the money for that time-honored tradition, but in the same week, we managed to send $500 million to the Palestinians. And yet there are people in Washington who insist there's no spending problem. Control towers at small airports are shut down. There's no money to run those. But the TSA gets shiny new uniforms at a cost of $50 million. And there are those people in Washington who insist there's no spending problem. $85 billion in spending was cut as a result of the sequester. But soon after, the Senate approved a measure to keep the government running through September. Additional spending which essentially wiped out all of the spending cuts in the sequester. And yet there are people in Washington who insist there's no spending problem. Now, if a business ran this way, it would be out of business. If a family ran their household this way, they'd be out on the street. The problem with our economy and the way Washington is handling it is simple. Washington, you have a spending problem. And the sooner you admit it, the better off all of us are going to be. Now, here's something we don't need any budget for. It's our toll-free number, good from anywhere in the world you're watching the program, 888-259-4449 for free information about our guests. When you do call, be sure and ask to be added to the subscription list of our Money TV newsletter. Again, call us toll-free, 888-259-4449. You got a mobile phone? Well, just text Money TV to go 800 or 46800. Visit us at moneytv.net. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.